What was the name of Adam and Eve's first son? Now Adam knew Eve his wife. And she conceived and bore Cain. And said, I have acquired a man from the Lord. What was the name of Adam and Eve's first son? What was the name of Adam and Eve's second son? Then she bore again, this time his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. What was the name of Adam and Eve's second son? What was Cain and Abel's occupation? Then she bore again, this time his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. What was Cain and Abel's occupation? What offering did Cain bring to the Lord? And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to the Lord. What offering did Cain bring to the Lord? The Hebrew literally reads, at a specific appointed time. There was a fixed time in which the offerings were to be offered. What offering did Abel bring to the Lord? Abel also bought of the firstborn of his flock, and of their fat. And the Lord respected Abel and his offering. What offering did Abel bring to the Lord? What did God think about Abel and his offering? Abel also bought of the firstborn of his flock, and of their fat. And the Lord respected Abel and his offering. What did God think about Abel and his offering? Did God respect Cain and his offering? But he did not respect Cain and his offering. And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. Did God respect Cain and his offering? Why was the Lord pleased with Abel's offering, and not pleased with Cain's? But he did not respect Cain and his offering. And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. By faith, Abel offered to God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous. Why was the Lord pleased with Abel's offering, and not pleased with Cain's? Abel was righteous, by faith, alone, just like all the other Old Testament believers. Faith that looked ahead, to the promise of the seed of the woman. That's why the Lord accepted Abel, and his offering, and not Cain's. Cain did not do his offering, by faith. What did Cain think about God's rejection? But he did not respect Cain and his offering. And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. What did Cain think about God's rejection? What did God say to Cain about his anger? So the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door. And its desire is for you, but you should rule over it." What did God say to Cain about his anger? Though the story of Cain and Abel begins with the hope that Cain may be the one to bring humanity back to the Garden of Eden, it soon becomes evident, all is not well with Adam and Eve's firstborn. Having had his offering rejected by God, Cain does not turn from his wickedness and improve his half-hearted and faithless worship. Instead, he hardens his heart, angrily thinking over his situation. In this passage the Lord warns Cain about the coldness of his heart. God asks Cain, "Why are you angry?" not because he cannot see Cain's heart, but in order that Cain might know the Lord's displeasure is due to Cain's own sin. God mercifully gives Cain an opportunity to examine himself and repent. If you do well, will you not be accepted? Accepted can also be interpreted as forgiven. Basically, the Lord is telling Cain to soften his heart, turn from his unjust anger, and begin to offer true worship. Do well does not imply that we can please God by what we do, but that forgiveness comes only to those who repent. Satan is seeking to use sin to dominate Cain, and he will be successful if Cain does not turn from his unjust anger. Cain's rage is itself evil, but soon it will erupt into murder, a more heinous transgression. An evil desire is the first step towards a more wicked act, and if we do not flee from evil desires, we may find ourselves giving control to the serpent. How can we do well? But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. How can we do well? What did God say would happen to Cain if he didn't do well? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door. And its desire is for you, but you should rule over it. What did God say would happen to Cain if he didn't do well? Who is to blame for our sin? Let no one say, when he is tempted, I am tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone. But each one is tempted, when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Then, when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. Who is to blame for our sin? Don't blame God when you are tempted to do evil. God cannot be tempted by evil, and he doesn't use evil to tempt others. We are tempted by our own desires, that drag us off, and trap us. Our desires make us sin, and when sin is finished with us, it leaves us dead. How do we know that Cain is the seed of the serpent, and Abel is the seed of the woman? We see the seed of the woman's faith in God, and the seed of the serpent's anger against God.